everyone, it's Raven and Ree from the Very Eerie, Extremely Wicked, and Quite Spooky podcast.
Yes, we are just here to give you a general trigger warning for this episode and future episodes. So if you see this at the beginning of an episode, it is your official trigger warning. That means that this episode will contain talks of sexual assault, sexual misconduct.
It might involve children.
It might involve children. It might involve, horrific descriptions of murders or something like that. So
violence. It's just an overall general trigger warning that if you are sensitive to these topics, or you yourself or someone you know has had something happen to them, to be open-minded, maybe skip this episode, or if anything, we might put timestamps in so that you can be aware that, this is gonna talk about some pretty heavy stuff. So just so that everybody has a good mental state and you are warned that this episode will contain heavy topics.
So we hope you enjoy this episode.
Happy listening.
Happy listening. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Very Eerie, Extremely Wicked, and Quite Spooky podcast. I'm your host, Raven.
And I'm your host, Ree.
And today, we will be talking about the religious cult, the Branch Davidians. Am I saying that right? Davidians? It's like David, right?
David and then Indians. Yeah,
Davidians. And they're from Texas. They're not from Texas, but they ended in Texas, I guess. Like they had a branch from Texas, and their whole thing that made them, I guess, cult-like was this whole thing that happened in Waco, which we'll get into. But so they, I've heard about what happened at Waco, and I didn't know that that I guess they're a religious cult, right? I mean,
yeah, I knew that, I had heard about the Waco siege, and especially because I know there's one Criminal Minds episode that is loosely based off this, and that's how I knew that they're kind of like a cult. They have some kind of religious thing, but I didn't know about their history and what led up to it.
Every time I would watch something to get for research about this, it was always they have this long backstory. It doesn't start suddenly kind of like the Manson family did, or Jonestown. Theirs kind of had a clear starting point, but their starting point here is back in
decades.
Back in the 1800s, which I don't know if you know more about that, because I was I don't really all I know is that they started it.
So from the articles that I read, they were one of several groups that continued to work with Victor Houteff, he was born in 1885, died in 1955, and he was a Bulgarian immigrant, and he was a Seventh Day Adventist. So, I think they kind of so he was a very devoted Seventh Day Adventist. I cannot say. I'm just gonna say SDA, because that's the acronym for it. So he had wanted a reform for the SDA church, but his fellow leaders didn't. They didn't agree with it. They rebuffed him. And then that's when, in 1935, he settled near Waco. And that's where kind of the organization settled, originated. And they were an apocalyptic cult, where they believed that the second coming of Jesus, or Jesus, would return and would bring them through the imminent apocalypse. And they They were made, so, because, like, this was not, the way from what I've gathered, this cult was not a cult that was very malicious until David Koresh had taken over.
Yeah.
And then that's when his sinister desires had kind of plagued and poisoned everyone, and then that's what led to their demise.
Yeah, and I was when I was doing the research, and I watched a little bit of the history before they moved to Waco, and I guess there was two kind of leaders before, or like one leader, something like that. But they claimed that there was going to be like a second coming of Jesus and the world was going to end. And so what they did is they had these people go and stand out in like a field for days or like hours, like on end, like overnight. And then when it didn't happen the first time, that they were like, oh, that was a test. And that reminded me of Jonestown, that first time when he was like tricked everyone to thinking that they were going to take the Kool-Aid that first time. And then he was like, oh, this is a test. And then they did it a second time. And then the second time they told them, I forgot what they told him, but they kind of like changed up their tone then. But a lot of followers did leave from that time. And that's when they kind of, I think, like changed up their motive or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because it also says that they left when his wife Florence took over, because she set a date, which from a couple of videos that I was watching about cults, never like set a date. Like if you're trying to convince people of of a coming apocalypse, you never set a date, because when the day comes and nothing happens, So she made a boo-boo, set the date, nothing happened, they left.
Yeah, I think that's what I was referring to, because I mean, it's more of like, I mean, tip for if you're trying to make an apocalyptic cult, never set a date.
Which we'll get into that when we get into Heaven's Gate, because we see what happened when you don't set a date and you just believe a certain event is the moment.
I've already started doing research for NXIVM and that one, and the Heaven's Gate one is wild to me. I'm just like, it's so weird.
Heaven's Gate is wild. I'm very interested in NXIVM because that one was wild when I first started reading about NXIVM.
Yeah, they're a little crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's already actually it's gonna be 28 years since the tragedy in Waco. In April.
Whoa.
So, but yeah, so who is this David, what's his face?
David Koresh.
Yeah. What is his like backstory? Do we know that?
So he was a musician. From what let me pull up his biography, because I just watched a small video on him. His mom had him when she was 15. She had been married multiple times. He never really had I think a good connection with her.
Yeah.
And he became very devoted in religion and had memorized pretty much the whole Bible. He was very
so he was actually into it then. He wasn't he wasn't for show, I guess you can say.
Yeah. He wasn't he was kind of how Jones had started, because Jones was also very into religion and pursued it and got involved, and then eventually down the road his corruption of power overtook him.
Yeah.
So it was kind of the same with Koresh. And so he was born in Houston, Texas, to an unwed teenage mother. She was 15 when she had him. He spent most of his early years with his grandparents, and he was a very devoted Seventh-day Adventist. Oh my God. And he dropped out of high school to take a carpentry job, and in his early 20s he spent some time in LA because he wanted to be a rock star. Like, he was very into music and wrote songs and played multiple instruments. He really wanted to be a rock star, and then he joined the Seventh-day Adventists after returning to Texas, but he got kicked out because he was budding with the church leaders. They didn't have the same ideals. And then rebel. And that led him in the early 80s to meet Vernon Howell, who I believe Vernon Howell, where is it? I know I read something about Vernon Howell. Vernon Howell, I believe, was the, why is my iPad like not wanting to
I think I have it
load?
Here. He changed his name to David Koresh?
Oh, no. Vernon, no, let me see. So, one of the factions opposed to Florence Houteff's leadership. So, this was the woman. So, Ben Roden was the leader of the opposite faction after Florence's failure of the apocalypse. His wife was named Lois. They had a son named George, and Lois found an ally in a young coven, Vernon Howell. So Vernon Howell had accested the leadership and became head of Mount Carmel community. And that's when, so Howell was the leader. David Koresh met him, and they became like friends. And that's how he became prominent, because his name is David Koresh, and his name suggested that he was the spiritual heir of the biblical King David, and that he, like Koresh, was the Messiah figure, not the Messiah Jesus, no, not the Messiah Jesus, but he was like a figure. And
his name was David.
Yeah, and so then he exercised his new authority, and a lot of people started flocking to him. A lot of the unmarried women grew like very attracted to him, and he asserted that he was the perfect mate for all of the female members. So David Koresh kind of like, he got involved with like all the unmarried women there, because he said that his new lineage of children will be the ones to rule the world.
Oh, wow. I'm reading this here. It says that so is Vernon Howell and David Koresh, they are not the same person?
They're not.
Because it says here that Vernon Howell ended up changing his name also to David Koresh. I'm on in 1981.
Or it was.
Are they the same people? So he changed his name after the fact?
Oh, maybe he will. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Which is a very weird thing for him to change his name. What led to him changing his name? Are they the same person? I think they are.
He is.
That's very weird. That he has this like second identity, kind of like.
So he was. Koresh was born Vernon Wayne Howell. Yeah, and he became. Wow.
That's very odd. That he would.
Oh, and he had. Oh, okay. So he had an affair with Lois.
That's what I'm seeing here too.
Oh my gosh.
This guy. He's not even David Koresh. He's Howell. So basically he was lying to everyone too, because that wasn't his real name. Well, he got it changed, right? But that's just very odd. Okay, so it's seeing here too that so that's when he was kicked out of the group, right? Because he pursued a pastor's daughter, and then he because he was a part of the Southern Baptist Church. And then he switched to the Seventh-day Adventist because he was kicked out of the Baptist church by trying to get with the pastor's daughter. And then it's also claimed that he might have had an affair with Benjamin Rodin's widow, Lois.
Yeah. Oh my
yeah,
gosh, this guy.
That's crazy. And so then he's obviously he claimed that he was a prophet, all these things. And then apparently,
he had a lot of freaking kids. Holy shit.
So he had a conflict with, so because when he started gaining power, I guess Benjamin and Lois's son George had a problem with him. So George Rodin, but then George Rodin ended up going to prison for killing another rival.
Holy shit!
And that's when so Howell, who ended up changing his name, obviously, changed his name to commemorate biblical kings David and Cyrus, which is spelled like Koresh.
Gotcha. And now that makes sense.
And that's when he assimilated all the control. So he was before his name was David Koresh, he was already telling people that he was this prophet. And I guess him changing his name made them like, oh, you must be a prophet. You changed your name.
Oh my god. I cannot. This is the only thing about cult leaders is delusions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly.
I just think of Robert Pattinson and The Devil All the Time. Delusions.
I know. Jeez. I mean, they really put on like a show for these people.
Oh my god, is it? Yeah. It says here that he had 3 kids with a woman named Rachel Jones, who he married when she was a teenager. They had 3 kids. Then in 1987, it says he actually tried to shoot, or he did shoot. He shot Rodin. Did he shoot George or did he shoot Lois? He shot one of them and tried for attempted murder, but were acquitted. Then he changed his name.
Yeah, so that's when. But then I think George Rodin did go to prison for killing someone.
Yeah.
So these people are just killing people left and right. What the heck?
Yeah.
So also it's saying here that for when that was all happening in Waco, that their idea was that the faith of the Branch Davidians of Waco was inextricable from their relationship with Koresh. So based on their relationship with Koresh would determine how faithful they were to like the Lord, I guess, or whoever they were praying to. I don't know. And then so then he was. They were apocalyptic cult, and he was preparing them for Armageddon, is what it says. He had preached that it was inevitably going to come, and he didn't set a particular date to it, but he just said its forecast is in imminence. So that he had prayed for that. He like staked his reputation on that. Like he was saying that there's gonna be a I guess kind of like an ending. And I guess I don't want to say that it came true, but like, I mean, it did, right? Like he apparently in his sermons or whatever he would do, that he talked a lot about fire, and so that's just like really eerie that there was like a fire and what had happened, right?
Yeah. He also like called his followers different names because They used to be called students of the Seven Seals, and then before, rather than Branch Davidians, and then he wanted them to be identified as Koreshians, which sounds like Kardashians, and that makes me kind of uncomfortable because that's just a little too close to names, Koreshians.
Mm-hmm. What a weirdo. And I think all cult leaders are kind of weirdos, right?
Yeah, I mean, Jim Jones named a whole town after him.
Yeah.
Manson, his family was called Manson family.
And they were the keeping up with the Koreshians.
That's gonna be the title of this episode.
It is. It has to be. So that he, in fact, also even said that it didn't matter if the fire that they got, which is what he would say, came from automatic rifles or a match and a can of kerosene. So I literally think that he was, even if, like, no matter what happened, like, in the whole battle that took place between him and authorities, I think that he was probably planning on doing something anyways, like, like, it just sounds like either he was gonna kill them all by shooting them or, like, doing something crazy, because it just sounds like he just, like, was like that. Because imagine if you were sitting there, like, preaching to your people,
making these promises
that the end was gonna come, and then it never, like, every day it's kind of like you're waiting and then nothing happens.
Yeah, so, it just, which, oh my God, what's today? What's today's date?
The 28th.
Okay, so today is February 28th, yeah. We are recording this on February 28th, and on February 28th, 1993 is when, like, the first day of the siege actually happened, because it took 2 months. Like,
that's
the actual, like, yeah, the tragedy took place, like, you know, the main tragedy took place in April, but it says here on April 28th at 4:20 a.m., the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms attempted to execute a search warrant relating to alleged sexual abuse charges and illegal weapon violations. So, and he knew the ATF was coming for him. Like, he knew that they were going to come on to him, which we're going to get into about, like, all of the charges and why the siege happened in the first place. But yeah, it says it happened on February 28th. That was the first day of the siege.
That's weird, because we didn't even plan that. Like, we didn't.
We did not plan this.
We were like, okay, what cults do we want to talk about? We set them out. Like, we gave the list of what cult, and then we just kind of, like, threw them in an order. So that's really weird that this just so happened to land on this day, and which is a little more weird to me, because now I feel like that's a little bit too coincidental for me.
Yeah.
The universe is...
Yeah.
Okay, universe, you didn't have to...
You did not have to play the cards like this.
I know. Jeez, I should pull a card or something. Like, what the heck? So, he was collecting, like, lots of guns, right? Like, they were already, like, that's why, that's one of the reasons why they were so suspicious of him, because he was, like, collecting tons of guns.
Yeah, he was violating federal firearm regulations, and on top of the fact that there was reports of abuse going on, that mixed with the illegal, like, firearms was a red flag. So they were trying to execute the warrant, and then that's how everything happened.
Yeah, so it says here, that I think their main concern was the firearms, and then I think the fact that there was sexual abuse, like rumors of sexual abuse, that kind of, like, set them over the edge and was like, okay, we have to go do something.
Yeah, because now they have those ability to hurt people. Yeah, because it's all about, you know, fight or flight at that point. Like, they cannot, if they have these weapons and there's allegations of abuse, who's to say they're going to use those weapons against their own people.
So it says here that so he taught that, obviously he said that he was a Messiah, or that he was this like leader, right? And that any children born of them would be sacred. So because of that, he had multiple marriages. He was polyamorous, polygamy or whatever. Yep. And some of the women were underage, and he fathered at least 13 children.
Ew.
And so then it says, in the years following the massacre, a number of additional children who had grown up amongst them reported that he had molested them.
Yeah. So we'll put a trigger warning at the beginning of like the episode and in the description.
Yeah, we'll film it at the end. We'll film it at the end so that we can I'll edit it. But yeah, so I mean, clearly it wasn't like this only like, why is that a thing that we see in religious cults? Like, why is that something, like, why is sexual abuse something that you like that we're seeing there? I think the only one that I don't remember there being any sexual abuse, and it was a religious cult, were Heaven's Gate, but they weren't really necessarily 100% religious. They were just more about like dying.
Yeah.
But like Jonestown, there was reports of it there. And then Children of God.
Yeah.
And then now this one.
Like, yeah, and then Manson family, they were all kind of like, I don't want to say consensual, I would, because it seemed like that. Like they all were consenting to like all the sex happening. I don't think there was any abuse. I think there was psychological abuse.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Rather than sexual in the Manson family.
Yeah, and I mean, not, especially like back then, I don't think there was ever really, consent wasn't like a huge thing back then, right? So, especially if everyone's on drugs and everyone's, you know, they're just kind of like doing things because they want to at that point. But I don't think I ever saw anything about, it seemed to me like most of the people who slept with Manson did it because they wanted to.
Yeah.
So like people would go to like sleep with him and like sleep, you know, sleep with each other or whatever. But for all the other ones like Jonestown, Children of God, this one, they're all religious cults, and they all have this, and I'm just like, and you know, it's something that we see in today's day and age too. Like you always see rumors or allegations to like the Catholic Church of like popes or not popes, but like the church, like the leaders, like the priests and stuff like that.
Yeah, the movie Spotlight is like based on an investigation that took place with the Catholic Church. So yeah, I agree.
So it's definitely not something that's like hidden. Like it's something that's like actually happening in like religious cults or religious groups. And it's a really weird thing. Like I don't get that. If you're gonna, I do not, and not obviously not every religious group, but there's like widely like a huge like problem, I think, in these religious groups where they're masking these like evil tendencies with religion, and it's disgusting. And
that was because I love the movie Spotlight, and I did like a lot of research on like the actual like Boston Globe and like what was going on, and it just blew my mind how these people who are high up in the church were covering these predators, and it's heartbreaking because like that's what makes people lose faith lose faith is by those actions. So it's like, why are you covering up?
Yeah, it really sucks. And SVU is like one of my favorite shows. Like I can watch it over and over and over again. And they had an episode about you know, the Catholic Church and stuff like that, and just the amounts that these people in the show went to cover it up. And then it was so crazy because the person who had did the crime on the little boy had actually went through the same thing when he was a little boy. And so it was just like, it sucks because most of the time, I mean, if you're in that situation and you're in a church and you're, being mistreated like that, like, you should 100% leave. And there's, like, I think there's other groups that will accept you and, work through it. But I've seen it too many times. I've heard too many stories about people who got mistreated in the church, stayed, and then it's just like a repeated cycle.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, have you watched the Netflix docu-series The Keepers?
Mm-mm.
Oh my gosh, highly, highly recommend. I've watched that. It's, I think, 6 to 10 episodes. Very good. It's about a 1960 something? It's like the late 60s. A Catholic nun who taught at a Catholic school, like an all-girls Catholic school. She went missing, and then her body was later discovered a few months later. Hasn't been, like, they have not solved on who killed her.
Wait, but I know exactly what you're talking about. I know the story, but I've never seen the documentary.
I would highly recommend. It's about that, and it goes into like her murder, the theories. Then it's because the two people that are like the main in the docuseries are two former students who have been doing like this investigation on their own, and like then you see like survivors of the abuse that was found out by some of the priests at that school. So it's theorized that Sister Kathy found out and was gonna like tell someone, and then that's why they killed her. But it's not solved because people are covering it up, and also the person who is believed to have killed her is dead now.
Yeah.
It's just like, what the fuck? No justice.
No, it's terrible. We're probably gonna have like a whole season maybe on like religious crimes or something like that, but that's gonna make me so angry. I already know.
It makes me so angry. I already know. It gets heated. I hate especially when it involves kids. I hate it when it's unsolved.
Yeah.
Oh.
I hate. Yeah.
I even hate this. Like I even hate this. Like how this could have been prevented, possibly, and unfortunately, how many people died in this? It was like 80?
Something like that. Well, yeah, so the first day, so on the 28th of February, 1993, I was not born. I was not born.
Wasn't born either.
But this is one of the only cults that does not take place in this like 70s that we have so far. Nexium,
this is definitely more
takes
recent.
place later, kind of in the earlier like 90s or something like that. 80s, 90s. Or like 2000.
Let me see. Nexium, actually. Nexium was founded in 1998.
Wow.
And all the stuff that happened was discovered.
Place over like the 2000s, right?
Yeah, it says 2019 was when the people who we'll talk about were arrested, and apparently some people just got convicted last year. So
yay. Well, I mean, yeah, so this is one of the first ones that we've talked about that doesn't take place in the 70s, which is like, okay.
Yeah, I think that's cool how we've kind of went in the past, like we're going kind of down a time period.
We are going in order. It's very odd.
Yeah, except these next two, because we're going to end with Heaven's Gate. That was in the 90s, and Nexium was in the 2000s. Yeah. So it's a little out, but it's kind of like we went from cults back in the early to mid 70s to the 90s, and then we're going to go into 2000. So I like that. We're on a timeline.
We didn't plan that. We really didn't.
We didn't plan that either.
Very confusing. So, the government had their interest in them because they had possession of potentially illegal arms cache on the site. So, on the 20th of February is when the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, attempted to raid the site and execute the search warrant. I don't know if they went about it 100% how they should have.
I don't think so. I definitely think whoever was in charge of this game plan just missed some steps, or they were not ready to execute a siege of this level.
No, and I think that, I don't know if it was like a rookie or what it was, but they should have known that they were going into, like, obviously they're there for potential illegal firearms, and you're going to go and raid them?
And because, how was it? They should have had SWAT there. Mm-hmm. SWAT should have executed this, not just the ATF, because this one incident, because just in this one day, 4 ATF agents and 5 Branch Davidians were killed just in the single night.
Yeah, and
so already you lost 9 people.
16 injured agents. So yeah. I don't know how many man force they went with, but I assume that it would have been very intimidating to the Branch Davidians. But for them so it's very unclear on who shot first or who did what first, because both sides say that each other the opposite side shot first. But nonetheless, they ended up having a gun battle, and that led to people being hurt and killed. So then what happened was a 51-day standoff between...
The FBI is now involved.
Yeah, the FBI and the Branch Davidians, who took over from ATF because they were like, y'all obviously cannot be involved in this. They apparently used a lot of different tactics to breach the compound. They played a lot of loud music on speakers to induce sleep deprivation, which is a little, that's a little torturous, no?
Yeah. They were able to do some negotiations because, if I remember correctly, I think they were on the phone with them a lot to try and diffuse the tension. So they were able to get 19 children released, but without the parents. And through interviewing them, that's when the children had talked about the physical and sexual abuse that was happening before the raid. Dang, they had confirmed it.
But that's just wild that I could not imagine, I guess maybe they were just trying anything for no, harm to be done. So I guess the music is one way to go about it, but that's a little, torturous.
Yeah.
It's a little crazy. I don't know what since Jonestown, this was the second biggest, massacre in the U.S. history? I think something like that. Not.
I would say, yeah.
Since Jonestown, I think I remember seeing something like that. It has the most amount of deaths since Jonestown. So.
Because,
I'll go for it.
Yeah. Oh, no, I was just going to say, because, Jonestown had 900, but this had over almost 90.
Yeah.
So even though there's a difference in scale, it's still a lot of life in a single event.
Yeah.
So
then the FBI ends up pulling up a large military force, the largest military force ever gathered against a civilian suspect in American history.
And they were just going after one guy. They were trying not to hurt any of the members. They just wanted Koresh. So all of this for one man because he could not step down.
So they had 10 Bradley tanks, 2 Abrams tanks, 4 combat engineering vehicles, 668 agents, in addition to 6 U.S. Customs officers, 15 U.S. Army personnel, 13 members of the Texas National Guard, 31 Texas Rangers, 131 officers from the Texas Department of Public Safety, 17 from the McLean County Sheriff's Office, and 18 Waco police, for a total of 899 people for one person.
extra do you gotta be?
And they were there for a total of 51 days for a stand. That's wild. That's a lot of people. I think that maybe they went a little overboard with that.
Because at the end of the day, 80-something people still died.
Yeah. And I feel like doing that was just more like, that's just more intimidation. That just makes it like not, if I was in that situation, I would not want to go out. Like if I was David Koresh, I'd be like, and you think I'm going to go out and you have 899 people there?
Yeah.
That's wild.
It was... So 51 days passed since the initial gunfight happened between the ATF and the cult. FBI is in charge, and it all comes down to a bright sunny day in April when the entire compound is suddenly in flames.
In flames. Do we know how it came to be in flames?
See, okay. I'm gonna read and try and figure it out, because the thing was that Koresh had said that they weren't planning a mass suicide. Like, mass suicide was never the intention. Mm-hmm. So it makes me wonder, like, did he go back on his word? Did they encourage him to just set the fire? Like, well, we'd rather go than let them take you. It's like, because it says 3 fires broke out in different parts of the building. So 3 fires were lit, meaning, I don't know if one person single-handedly, like, set them each, or if they all set them at the same, like, 3 different people set them at the same time. And then the government maintains that the fires were not deliberately, but then it says that the government maintains that the fires were not deliberately started by the Branch Davidians. Some survivors still say that the fires were started either accidentally or deliberately by the assault. And because and then it says of the 85 Branch Davidians that were in the compound when the final siege took place, 76 died in various ways because of the suffocating effects from the fire, the falling rubble, or gunshots from fellow Branch Davidians. So some of them were even shooting each other, probably to like get out, or like they had.
I could imagine that maybe they were like, "Well, this is the end, so let's just like, you know." But yeah, I just they're in there for 51 days, and I'm just like, what is the dialogue that's happening between David and these people? Like,
and then it's all like, do they have even the necessities that they need? Like, do they have water? Do they have food? Like, are they going out? Are they kind of losing their insanity?
Yeah. And so it says that, well, obviously on the 19th, the FBI raided it. They used the armored tanks and tear gas. So I also heard that maybe some people thought that the tear gas is the thing that caught some things on fire, possibly. But I guess that's not really like something that's like, they don't know how the fire started. It's just
oh God, yeah. And so, oh, okay. I'm reading like the last little bit of this on history.com. So, several fires, blah, 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 blah. Safety concerns prevented firefighters from entering the property. And then it says 9 Davidians were able to escape. They found 76 bodies, including 25 children. Some of them, including Koresh, had fatal gunshot wounds. So it suggested that they either took their own life or it was a murder-suicide.
I hope that one of them just shot David Koresh. I hope.
I would have been like, you know what? If we're gonna die, I'm taking you with me.
Yeah, you're going first. Like, I hope that I could have assumed that maybe he was telling them, like, we need to stay here, blah 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 blah. But they were, or maybe he shot himself. But I don't see that happening. Just like in Jonestown, I don't see Jones shooting himself. I think that someone shot him.
Yeah, I think someone did too. Just like especially after we did all that research, and then of course my dad's theory, it kind of has just stuck that someone had to have done it, especially just the way they were found. So I definitely can see that someone probably killed Koresh.
I think so too. I would have.
Yeah.
I would have. Or maybe I would have if I was in a cult. Who knows? Who knows? But I know that a lot of people put a lot of blame on the government for all the deaths.
Yeah, I think there was a lawsuit that was going on for a while because they found like inconsistencies with the investigation that led that this could have been the government, like the FBI's fault for how it turned out.
I think that maybe they shouldn't. Okay, if I was the FBI in this situation or the ATF, screw the raiding of the compound. Screw it. Don't even go to the compound. If you're concerned that they have guns, it's like like the cartel. You don't go and like just raid the cartel.
Exactly.
Because you're gonna get shot at. Like there's so many videos of the cops trying to like raid the cartel and they're just shooting back. So it's like why even try to do that?
You have to, in order to execute a siege like that, you have to get someone in on the inside as like a double agent.
Yeah.
Someone who could like, yeah.
So what I would do if I was the person who had to conduct this siege is I would say screw the siege. We're not doing the siege. What we're gonna wait is for David Koresh to go on we'd stalk him for a couple months or weeks or something like that. See where he's going. Go arrest him at this at something. Tell him, catch him in something. Stop him in a freaking traffic stop. Plant weed in his car. I don't know. Do something, but don't go to anything but doing the siege. And then once they get him, take him to a holding cell. Then while they have him there, because it's very clear that David Koresh is the inhibitor for everything. I don't think that if those people went to the compound when David Koresh was not there, I don't think that there would have been a shootout. I don't think so either. It's just, granted, this is 3 decades ago nearly, so they weren't as smart as they could have been now. Because it's just like, you don't go to their safe haven knowing they're going to be with people who follow them and all that. It's kind of like, I'm trying to think of an example. It's very similar to Jonestown. Like, they went there, and granted, they weren't trying to siege anything, but they were there to get information to find out what's happening with these people.
And then that damn reporter had to give Jones the note himself.
And the reporter screwed it up.
The reporter screwed up. I still, to this day, get so angry when I read or watch, or even if I go back and, like, look at our episode whenever I, like, try to make clips for sneak peeks. I just get so angry when I come across the part where the reporter gives Jones the note, because that could have prevented so much.
Yeah, it really could have. And I think that they shouldn't have gone in on February 28th and did a siege. They should have waited a couple weeks. As far as we know, they weren't gonna kill each other, So I think
exactly.
I mean, yes,
they were trying.
There was terrible things happening within, but I think that if they waited a couple weeks, who knows how long they even were doing like research on them before deciding to raid them. Like how long were they even investigating them? Like
they probably weren't. They just heard that they have illegal weapons. We need to go ahead because Granted, they should have thought better before, because it's like, they have illegal weapons. They're they're violating firearm. That should be a telltale sign. And if you are gonna do a siege, have SWAT, have just go about it a different way. Like lower the prey out.
Decided like, did they go knock on their door? Like, what did they do? Did they knock on the door like, we have a warrant for your arrest, or we have a warrant to do, or did they just like go in there very intimidatingly? Like, I think that there needs to be there's a learning curve for the ATF and the FBI on this one, and I think that also for the Branch Davidians, I think that if David Koresh was not there, I don't think they would have shot at him at the people.
No, they should have. Their main concern was to get Koresh, that they would have done anything probably to protect and make sure no other life got lost, but they went about it the wrong way.
They did. I think they really did. And then from that first one, that led them to being stuck in this compound for 51 days.
And then it ended in tragedy.
Yeah. So it still ended in a way that's like, it didn't work out for anyone. David Koresh died. Did they get their firearms? Yeah, probably.
Well, then again, the whole compound burnt down. So they probably turned into ash. And like most infamous crimes, cults, events, it leaves a legacy. Mm-hmm. Because even though the Waco siege ended in April of 1993, fast forward to 2 years later, 1995, the second anniversary of the Waco siege, a militian named Timothy McVeigh loaded a truck with 4,800 pounds of fuel oil and aluminum nitrate and attacked the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City. He had even noted that the Waco siege inspired him to conduct the Oklahoma City bombing. Wow. And he did it on the second anniversary. And the Oklahoma City bombing, for anyone who hasn't heard of it, it was a domestic terrorist attack by Timothy McVeigh and another guy. I can't remember the other guy's name, but Timothy is like the face of it because he was like the main person. And he put a bomb in the Oklahoma City building, and 168 people were killed, 850 were wounded. It was the deadliest terrorist attack in the United States to that date until 9/11. But I believe it was the deadliest by like a domestic terrorist, like an American who had done it. And if you look at the pictures of that building, I can't believe 168 people died. Like the way the building looked after the bomb, like the entire thing went up, I would have thought twice the amount, maybe triple would have been perished. That's
wow. I mean, yeah. And then another thing is that, speaking of legacy, is that the Branch Davidians are still a thing.
They're still a thing.
And I wonder if they're still like an apocalyptic cult, or if they've kind of like moved away from that. But it's like just like Children of God, they're still around.
Yep.
So I just
it says that Clive Doyle, he still believes that Koresh is the prophet and will resurrect.
Wow.
They're waiting for the incarnations of him and the followers who were killed. And I'm just like, oh my God.
Well, here, at the end of this time, someone said, the sun didn't blacken, nor the moon turn red, but the world did come to an end, just as their prophet had promised. So, like I said, I mean, they did, I guess it's like, was he right, kind of? Like, he was kind of right.
Yeah.
It just didn't turn out how I guess they expected it to turn out.
Yeah,
in Salem, South Carolina, is one of the Davidian Seventh-day Adventist group.
Oh shit! You said South Carolina.
Yeah.
I live there. Oh no.
Go give them a
well,
visit.
then again, I did. Then again, I think I heard. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Field trip.
But yeah, I mean, the pictures of the building being burned down is wild.
It's.
I mean, it all burned down.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And it said another article is like why the 76 Branch Davidians in April 1993 could have been avoided.
It really could have.
It could have. I don't know. It just
makes you wonder, like, if this didn't happen, then the Oklahoma City bombing probably wouldn't have happened because Timothy McVeigh, whatever, he noted this event as inspiration. And
true.
it's like, oh, if the Waco siege didn't happen and nobody died or it wasn't the extent that it did, would Timothy McVeigh still have conducted his attack? It just... these, like, timelines and, like, these events that lead to others.
Yeah. So what... I guess we're at the portion where we can decide and give our... well, we gave our opinions, right? But if this case, the Branch Davidian Waco massacre is what they're calling it, right? The Waco...
yeah, the Waco siege, the Waco massacre.
If it was extremely wicked... very eerie, extremely wicked, or quite spooky. And I don't see this one as extremely wicked, necessarily.
Yeah. I'm more on very eerie.
I think I'm on very eerie also. It's just, I think maybe somewhere in between very eerie and extremely wicked, because I don't think necessarily like David Koresh was extremely wicked. I think maybe I mean him doing the kids coming out and saying that they were abused by him, that's extremely wicked. But I don't think that this massacre in general is extremely wicked because we don't really know.
We don't know how purposeful like it was, because like honestly, he did say mass suicide was not his intention. He didn't want to like do that. But I think it came down to it when the fires broke out and they were trapped, and that's why I feel more like it kind of happened in the moment, because so I would say it's very eerie. I would think it only would have been extremely wicked if it was a purposeful like mass suicide.
I also think that it was something that came like in the moment. If they did, because I mean some of them did have gunshot wounds, and whether or not those were the people that got shot in the crossfire. But also David Koresh had a gunshot wound. So it's like, how do we know that David Koresh didn't get shot around the first time there was like a battle? Do we know 100% sure that he was like alive?
They have the names of the people who did die during the first like attempt. Okay. He was alive because they were making negotiations with him over the phone, I think.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, so either I don't think he shot himself. I really don't think he shot himself. I think someone shot him.
Yeah.
And maybe they shot him and then they shot themselves. Or I could also see, because there was like families in there like together. They released a lot of the kids, but there were
still 25 kids who died.
Yeah, and so there was like families in there. So I wonder if maybe like a father or a mother was like, I don't want you to die by being burned alive, so we're gonna shoot you.
Yeah,
I can see that happening. But this whole thing is just very eerie, and I think that the government could have went about it a completely different way. I think that it's just a very weird thing going on here.
Yeah. To anyone who's Criminal Minds fans or very interested, the episode Minimal Loss, I can't remember what season exactly it is, but it's titled Minimal Loss. It's based off of this, where the main character, the main like guy they're after, who's inspired by Koresh. His name is Benjamin Cyrus, which I believe Cyrus is like Koresh is the Hebrew for Cyrus. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and it's about how like the FBI and a bunch are called in for a siege that took place when a mother came forward about her daughter being possibly abused by her adult husband, and then they had illegal arms, and then there's like shootouts. So minimal loss, Criminal Minds. That is the episode loosely based on this event.
Yeah.
It's a good episode. It's one of my favorites.
Okay. Before we finish this episode, Ree and I decided on our season 2 episodes, the theme, the I guess the season title, what it's going to be about. So I wanted to kind of tell you guys that before we go. So season 2 is going to be all about disappearances. We're still playing on the name of it. It's either going to be like, have you seen, or what happened to ... So it's a long season. The season's going to extend over a couple of months probably.
Yeah.
So there's going to be 20 episodes in season 2. And I'm just going to start naming them. So we have number 1 is Flight 370. Number 2 is Jacob Witterling, Natalie Holloway. Then we have Amelie Earhart, Adam Walsh, The Lost Colony of Roanoke, Jimmy Hoffa, Eden Pass, Ray Robinson, Oscar Zeta Acosta, Kaylee Anthony, Fred Valentina. Or wait, did I say that right? I think it is like his name is hard to pronounce. Maura Murray, Madeline McCann, Joan Risch, Cherry McCann. It's different than McCann. They sound the same. Asha Degree, Johnny Gosh, the Gill family, and the infamous Amber Alert little girl. I forgot her name.
Amber Hatterman.
Yeah, that's our last episode. So we are trying to make this, because I mean, especially the disappearances of the kids can be
heavy.
They can be a little heavy and tough. So we try to add in some of them are more like conspiracy theory-esque. Some of them are, we do have some adult ones on there that are less kind of like, I guess, eerie. There's some that are...
There's a few that are like a little, that like they're still heartbreaking, but they're not... It's just different when it's a kid.
Yeah, that's the thing for me too. Like, I mean, I teach kids, like, it's my life. I want to have tons of kids, and so anytime that I talk about something that involves children, it just breaks my heart.
Yeah, I have to like take a moment after I've like read or watched something, and just because like I watch Investigation Discovery like religiously, and there's been most of them are of adults and young adults, but whenever there's always those rare occurrences where it is about a child, or a child is involved, like they were a victim of a serial murder, and it just, I get so angry.
Yeah, so some of these we try to space it out so that not all of them are super heavy. We try not to do any back to back like kid ones, which is why we're starting it off with Flight 370, which is one of my favorite, like...
That whole case is just insane.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. I remember when that first came out, I would spend like weeks or hours a day like watching videos, or just...
Because it's like with those, you kind of want to figure it out yourself and find the break point. Be like, no, this is what happened. This makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Because that's how I was with that one and The Lost Colony of Roanoke.
Yes, which is what we're also going to be talking about that. So tune in for season 2, which starts, and we have 2 more episodes after this one. our next episode is going to be on March 15th, which will be about Nexium. After that, on March 29th, we'll be talking our final episode for season 1, which is about Heaven's Gate. And then season 2 starts on April 12th. And we'll get to you guys right away with Flight 370.
It's going to be...
I'm excited. Yeah, season 2 is going to be very long. It's probably going to extend into the summer.
Oh, for sure. Probably, 20 episodes. We do about 2 a month.
2 a month, so 10 months.
We might still be on this during our trip to Forks.
We probably are going to be. So, wow. That's going to be very long. Maybe we'll take a break in between, episode 10. We can
do like a small, just a little break. Be like, hey.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a little season break.
We could just do what we did with the Bite after our Midnight Sun. Just do a chat episode where we talk about crime.
It'll be intermission.
Intermission.
That's what the season 2 intermission, because it will be a very long season. So wow, this case was very odd. I don't know.
It was.
I feel like with all the other ones, there was for Jonestown, for the Manson family, for Children of God, there's always a resolution, and you always kind of we already know everything that happened, kind of, but for this one I feel like there's so many things unanswered. There's so many conflicting stories that it's what really happened here.
Yeah, and of course we've got the government saying one thing, we've got the survivors of the siege saying another, so it really just depends on who you believe.
Yeah.
Or what you personally interpret what happened.
There was a video of, I think an agent was being interviewed for a news during the siege, and some guy came and started yelling at him.
I saw just a clip of that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And I'm like, oh my God, some people were, very upset, and I would have been upset too. The worst that would have happened to David Koresh was that he would have gone to jail, right?
They would have just arrested him, interviewed him. He would have been charged for the abuse and the illegal housing of weapons, and he would get the max sentence, and that was it. And everybody else would have to just go on with their lives, find a new leader, or he could still be the leader through prison.
Yeah, that's kind of how, even because in the LDS church, Jeff Warrens, he still runs everything from church or from prison.
Yeah, so it's wild. But nope, he went the opposite way. Well, we don't know if he had the choice. Someone could have just given him that choice when they killed him. We don't know if he turned the gun on himself, although he's a coward if he did, but I would say someone else did it.
Yeah, I would like to think that someone else did it, maybe in the moment, you had us in here for 51 days. The thing that gets me the most is that we don't know what happened in those 51 days inside the compound. We don't know what he was telling them. We don't know what he did to them. We don't know what they were doing to each other. Whereas Jonestown, we have an hour plus long audio of what was happening.
Yeah. Oh God, that audio still.
The audio is terrible.
His final sermon just gives me chills.
That's why I would like to think that, that's the part that's eerie to me, is that we don't know what he was telling them. What he's with, when the fire started, did they go and tell him hey, there's fires, we need to get out, and he was like, no, we're gonna die here, and did they just turn on him, and that's why they were shot, or what happened? I think that's why I'm classifying this specific case as very eerie, because we don't know.
Yeah. I definitely agree.
We don't know. And I want to know. I want to know.
I want to know. Who knows? Maybe in like the future we'll have a part 2 of this episode where we find out and
there were survivors from the inside, right?
Yeah, there was 9 survivors, and then you have the kids who like escaped earlier. So we don't know. Like we don't know the time frame between the first siege when they were released and then the final. So we don't know if they know.
Yeah, I wonder why he only let out 19 kids. Like, why those 19 kids without their parents?
Exactly.
Oh, look, an abcnews.go.com article says survivors of 1993 Waco siege describe what happened in fire that ended the 51-day standoff. So,
God, 51 days. 51 days is a long time.
I don't know why this one, the way that it starts off, it says, when the sun rose on April 19th, 1993, but that one of the members said that nothing about April 19th started normal, nothing, and then it says it was windy. The winds were, and I think that's relevant because since the fire started, the winds made the fire bigger than what it would have been, I guess. They said,
yeah,
they saw tanks. The tanks were going in. The ATF member said that deadly force was used against them first. What is happening? Oh, so it says that while they had those kids that were released, first it said that the kids were examined and their resting heart rates were twice as high as expected for a normal child, which is very odd. Yeah. And then it says that one of the things that all of these kids had learned to do, even the really young kids, was march and handle a gun.
That's a little...
That they didn't understand what it's like to take a bath or flushing toilets, and that they didn't know what a basketball was.
I didn't know what a basketball was.
Huh. Very weird. Apparently, the FBI had smuggled bugging devices inside, and they heard the Davidians discussing lighting fires. And that's why they concluded that Koresh and his followers set the fires themselves. David told all the mothers to take the children into the vault, which was the bottom part of the 4-story tower that they had in the event that the world was going to end. So they had like a vault at the bottom, like a bunker.
Yeah.
But the bunker did not save them from the smoke. That they died in there, not because they were like set afire, but because of the smoke inhalation.
Yeah, they suffocated to death. Ugh, it's like the worst. Suffocating and burning to death are like the worst ways to go.
Yeah.
Because it's slow.
Yeah. That he heard that this guy who survived said that he heard like the kids screaming, or like they had the people screaming, that they were like, but that it had already collapsed, so they couldn't get them out. That's wild. That's really weird that the kids, that's another reason why I think that's eerie. It's the kids' resting heart rate was 2 times higher. That makes me think that the kids were often put into high stress situations.
That or they were drugged.
Oh, that's true. They were often being drugged. And then they knew how to mark and handle a gun, but they didn't know what a basketball or what taking a bath or that the sound of the flushing toilet scared them.
He was literally like training them, grooming them, I should say, to be like a militia.
Yeah. That's really really
that's disturbing.
I think that after reading that just makes it more eerie to me.
Yeah.
That's really odd.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, I feel like the way that we end every episode is just like, don't join a cult.
Don't join a cult, please. Like, if you are in need of friends and family, go about it the right way.
Yeah. If you are interested in like Twilight, just join a Twilight fan group.
Yeah, make friends through other interests.
Yeah.
If someone is saying they're the second coming of Jesus, maybe that's the hint to run.
Mm-hmm. Or there's an apocalypse.
Yeah.
That might be a red flag.
Don't submerge yourself in something before and then realize it's too late to leave.
Dang. That is wild. I can't see myself in this situation.
I can't, if someone ever told me...
Colts will never be one to...
Yeah, that will hopefully... God, knock on wood, hopefully I don't get hit in the head at some point and my mind just turns opposite of everything that I morally encompass, because never once will you see me joining a cult.
Yeah.
Unless I made the cult.
In an apocalyptic cult.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
I can't, because every cult has some kind of theme to it, whether it's a sex cult, a terrorist cult, a apocalyptic. It just...
It seems like they all kind of go bad at some point. Actually, because we were talking about apocalypse. Yesterday I went to my brother-in-law's house and we watched a movie called Greenland. My husband and I were there with my brother and sister-in-law. And it's about a giant meteor or comet was making its way into Earth's atmosphere. And so the movie starts off that it's just going to pass through, that it won't hit. But then the day that it's supposed to get there, the NASA and astrologists say that it's breaking off because a comet is like an ice, right?
It's made of ice and rock.
Since it was getting closer to the sun, it was melting. So now big chunks of it were falling off and we're starting to hit in different places. So it's like these kids in the movie, it's his birthday and they're watching it on the news like if it's some big thing, event that's going to happen. And it's supposed to land in the ocean, but instead it lands in Florida and literally wipes out Florida.
Yeah. Yikes.
And so then there was this giant shockwave from Florida that made its way to a 15, I think they said a 1,500 mile shockwave. And which makes sense, And so the movie is just them trying to get their family to a bunker in that the U.S. has. And so it's a pretty wild ride. But I had a dream about it. So I woke up and I was like, what's happening?
Raven, did you just predict the apocalypse?
I know, but that's why I was speaking of apocalypse, it's really weird that it was and so the reason that they're trying to get their family to these things, because not the little comets that were trying to that were, wiping out a city or two. It was the big comet that was 9 mile. 9. It's something that it was. I think in the movie it said that it was bigger than the asteroid that took out the dinosaurs, or something like that.
Oh, that's big.
So and it hit London.
Oh, not London.
So it took out.
That's where all my faves live.
Yeah, and so they ended up in the movie. Spoiler, sorry, but they ended up getting to the bunker. But there's a whole bunch of other things that happen, so I'm not going to spoil because it's pretty intense. But if you want to watch it, it's pretty good. I was like, I don't really like action movies, and there's like some action in it, but it takes you on a wild ride. It's crazy.
I like those type of I like apocalyptic or end of the world because I love Armageddon. I love Deep Impact. I love Knowing. That one's a freaky one. And then Clover. Is it Cloverfield or Clover something?
Yeah.
I love that one too.
I think the movie that I watched yesterday is like a modern day 2012. Kind of.
Ooh.
Because
2012.
Yeah. So I was like, I think it's a good movie, but just speaking of apocalypse, if you guys want to end of the world type stuff, it's a pretty good movie. And what was I? I was gonna say something and it totally slipped my mind. It's gone from my memory. I don't remember. It was about something about the movie, but I totally forgot. Oh well. Oh well. Oh wait, it was about another movie. Was it about another movie? Was it about... Oh, have you seen The Day After Tomorrow?
Yes. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I haven't seen it forever either. Movie. But yeah.
Or The Day the World Stood Still. That's another one.
That's another good one. Oh, I remember. I was gonna say because after watching it, I was telling. We were sitting there. We were like, "Wow, that's a very interesting movie." And then I was like, "Well, if this teaches us anything, it's that someone in our family needs to build a bunker, and someone in our family needs to learn how to fly a plane."
That's such a good. That's the basic survival skills that people need. You need to learn how to build a raft, fly a plane, build a bunker.
I think I'm gonna build a bunker. Whenever Carlos
safe
and I,
room.
Yeah, whenever Carlos and I buy a house or something or build something, which should be happening sometime this year. I don't know. I was like, because there's this company that makes bunkers that you put in your they build it in your garage, and it's no deeper than a regular pool. So if you could build a pool in your backyard, you could build this bunker, and they build it in your garage, and it's a square. I think they have different sizes and stuff like that, obviously for different sized families, but it's a place where if you had to be in, and I think that garages are probably one of the safest. If your house were to collapse, you'd probably want it, and you were to be under your house, you'd probably want it to be under your garage because there's not a lot of things going on up there in garages unless you have a full complete attic. But at least in mine, where we are, we don't have attics like that.
Yeah.
You just have roof and that's it. So I was like, well, if there was anywhere I'd want the building to collapse on me, it'd probably be my garage.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this bunker is they cut a hole and then they put it in your garage, and you can go in there, and I guess you can equip it with other stuff to make sure that you have water and food and.
Oh yeah, you put non-perishable, you put water, you put oxygen tanks. It's a good investment.
I think it is a good investment, just in case,
Yeah, and also if you have a very bad hurricane or an F5 tornado. Or if someone breaks into your house, you have a panic room.
That's true.
So
you
can equip it with CCTV footage, have cameras that around.
Yeah. I mean, who knows if the end of the world's gonna come anytime in our lifetime? But there's not to get into conspiracy theories, but there's that theory that apparently Yellowstone National is set to it hasn't erupted in so long that it's
Oh, it's currently dormant, but they think it's going to become active.
Yeah.
If Yellowstone explodes, then it is the end of us because all that it's so big, and then it'll just like all the ash will cover the sun, and then all the plants will die, and then everything, and then
then we die.
There's all. I mean, apparently, and also not. I don't want to get people scared. I don't want to get people scared because it kind of scares me a little bit. But apparently, there is actually like an asteroid that is hurtling. Like it's not. It's set to pass us. It's set to pass us. But if it gets caught in the sun's orbit and it comes back around, there's a chance it could hit us. And that's like 10, 20 years from now, though, because it takes a while. Like, but it just one little curveball.
Yeah.
Part of me, the way the world was going last year, when I found that out, I was like, part of me was like, let it hit us.
Yeah.
Put us out.
I mean, honestly, don't let us. But I feel like something like that, like the volcano, like the Yellowstone erupting, or the giant ash, I feel like that would kill you in like 0.5 seconds.
Oh, it would.
You wouldn't even know.
I'll take that any day.
Rather than like being set on fire
or smoking inhalation.
Yeah. I'd take a 0.5 second death over. I mean, if it's going to happen and it's going to happen by an asteroid, that's a little iconic.
I know, like, go big or go home. I want to go out the way the dinosaurs did, like.
But if you're in a plane, like you're flying a plane, not necessarily, like if you go high enough, do you think, like, will it still get you?
It'll still get you because by then it will just like tear through the ozone layer. So then the sun's rays will just burn us up.
Great. Love that for us.
What a lovely way. Let's get vaporized.
I know. At that point, it's just like, why not? But yeah, so, I mean, if you can take anything away from this episode, it's don't join a cult. Don't join a group of people that say that the world's going to end sometime soon. And if there's going to be an apocalypse and your family needs to get to a bunker, someone needs to either learn how to fly a plane or someone in your family needs to build like a 10+ person bunker. I would want to put all of my family. That's like such a difficult thing. Like, how do you decide who you put in the bunker?
It's the Hunger Games at that point.
I don't think I would let anyone know I had a bunker. And like,
only like selective people would know at the moment that we need to be in the bunker. Like, I would not tell people beforehand.
Yeah. No, I would not. I think the only people that would know is like me and my husband. But then it's like, dude, like who do you put in there? Because like me, it's like I'm not gonna let my mom or my sisters. Well, I have two. My brother needs his dad, so his dad. And then I have like. And then what if I have kids? And then it's like my dad, my stepmom. And my stepmom has like, I have stepsisters and step nieces.
Oh my God. And pets? Like, I would have to have my dog.
Oh, 100%. Dude, I have a snake, a turtle, 3 dogs.
You have all those cats.
Oh my goodness. And then so then my stepmom has her kid. I think my dad, and this is like the saddest thing ever, but my dad would be like, it's fine, Raven. Like, it's okay. Like, and my dad would 100% be like that. Like in the movies or something, he'd be like, oh my God. Okay. And I'd be like, Dad, no. Because my dad has 3 dogs and he loves them with his entire heart. So he'd be like, if my dogs can't go, I'm just going to stay here with my dogs. And that would break my heart.
That's when you'd be like, get you and your dogs in this bunker now.
I know. I'm going to have to build like a oh my, that's going to be such a difficult...
Just make it an Olympic-size bunker. Olympic-size pool bunker.
Yeah, if it's a pool bunker,
that
it should be fine, right? Because then everyone can fit in it.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. And then, oh my gosh, and then it's like then not only do I have my family, but then I have like my dad. And not to mention, like, I have to save my favorite cousin and her kids. Like, I'm not going to let them not. My grandmas, I'm like, oh my goodness, I just have to have everyone in this bunker. My family's side of the family, I have nieces and nephews and brother and sister-in-laws. Like, I can't just let them. So...
I have too many friends also.
I know. I'm gonna be like, guys, can you get down here?
Get here
now. How quick can you get down to where I am? Because you can come stay in my bunker. Oh, that'd be wild. But also, I don't have a bunker yet. So if they tell us tomorrow,
we're fucked.
Yeah, we're screwed. There's no bunker to be in.
I see your cat in the corner.
Nessie.
Nessie!
She's a creep.
I saw one on the counter, like behind you, and then one over there, and I'm just like, oh my god, there's so many kitties.
There are. And then we have the 3 baby kittens.
Oh my god, yeah.
They are the cutest things ever. Let me see. Before we end the episode, let's see if I can show some baby kitties to you guys on my phone. If you're listening on the Spotify, I'm sorry. You won't get to see a baby kitten. But you can go to our YouTube for a second and go look at the baby
straight
kitties.
To the end. Oh my gosh, that face!
So this one is the youngest, and every time we go into we have him in my mom's closet because that's where my cat gave birth, and it hisses at you. It started hissing like last week, and it goes, and it's the cutest thing ever. And then we have, so this is the youngest one. I forgot what I named this one. And then this is the oldest one.
Oh my god.
And then this is the middle baby. It's so cute.
Oh my gosh, I was not expecting that. It's so cute.
I know. And it has, his eyes are starting to look blue.
Is it he or she?
We don't know yet. We can't tell yet.
Oh, can't tell yet. Oh my god, it's adorable.
We'll probably be able to tell here in like another week or two, but I want to keep them all.
Oh.
And then I went to PetSmart yesterday, and I saw they had 3 snakes, and they only had one corn snake, which is like the total opposite of my snake because my snake's albino.
Yeah.
So this one was like total opposite, and it had like black eyes, red. My mom was like, your snake's prettier. And then they had 2 ball pythons. One of them was a little crazy when like was going all over its cage, and I was like, oh, I don't want that one. But the other one was just like curled up in a ball looking out the window, and I was like, I want to take you home. And my mom was like, no more animals, Raven. I was like, fine, I'm just gonna wait to move out, and when I move out, I'm gonna have a zoo. It's gonna be terrible.
You're gonna have a zoo. Yes.
My goodness.
I want a bunny, a rabbit.
Bunnies are cute. I think Carlos and I said that we're gonna have like, we're gonna get more snakes. We want birds. We're gonna have our cats. I'm honestly told my mom like I will keep all of the kittens. I'll keep them all of them. We have our snakes. We're gonna have our cats, our dogs. I want chickens.
You're gonna have a whole farm.
I told my mom I'm gonna have a zoo. I want chickens because they eat ticks. So and then anywhere that we go, especially down here, you never know, like if we buy a house, don't know if the people like took care of their yard or anything. So they'll eat the ticks, and then or fleas or anything, or just bugs in general, and they'll be thriving in my backyard.
Yeah,
I'll have a chicken coop. It's gonna be great. I might get a pig. Who knows?
Hey, the more the merrier.
Might as well. My neighbors are going to hate me. They're going to be like, they literally have a zoo. All the kids are going to want to be at my house because I have all these animals.
Yes. Oh, that'd be so cool.
So fun. You can come visit my zoo whenever I have it.
Yes!
Oh my goodness. Well, that was
I'll be there.
A very interesting episode. We talked about apocalyptic cults, and then we talked about the apocalypse and animals. So
yeah, it was a very eventful, definitely good conversations as always.
Yes,
because we've
make
never
sure
had
you guys
awkwardness on
tune
this.
in next time where we talk about NXIVM,
which is another sex cult.
It's a sex cult. Not a good sex cult either. A bad one.
This one's interesting because it was like a multi-marketing agency in disguise.
Yeah, it was an MLM, like those people who sell you things and then they make money off of your stuff and then they try to get you to sell other people things. It's like a thing. But that episode comes out on March 15th. And NXIVM. It's a very interesting. It's the newest, kind of like a new cult that just kind of emerged. So
and we're definitely gonna have another trigger warning on that because this cult did well, it says was, in meaning that it kind of no longer is, because I think everyone who was involved was caught and is facing charges, but they partook in sex trafficking. So if you're sensitive to sexual slavery trafficking, then maybe it perhaps be open-minded when you watch or listen,
or skip that episode or something.
Skip it.
All right, well, that is the end of this episode. We hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you guys on March 15th where we talk about NXIVM. So we'll see you guys later. Don't join the cult. Bye.